Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Waharakah HaKodash. That's the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit in whom we praise. Double honors to our apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone who rule well over a flock of Israel. Shalom and salutations to you brothers out here pushing the words of truth and sincerity. Shalom to all the Lord's elect, Akim and Akwathim, scattered Israelites and Israelite foreigners, Abaratazar, which is Lord willing. This video is edifying. And what we are amongst is an actual collapse of the US dollar. We probably gonna see that. I could see that happening within the next 2 years, and I could see it really getting rough. The purchasing power going to all-time lows by the end of the year. It's just way too much going on now. You're not seeing too many spikes in gas right now. They're keeping that relatively low still. You're not seeing too many spikes in what is it, consumer price index? I think that's pretty average right now. I'll look that up. Consumer price index or CPI measures the change in prices paid by consumers for a basket of goods and services. So this is how you really, this is one of the key factors telling you if the price of the dollar or the purchase power of the dollar is going down quickly or, quicker than usual. And right now it says the CPI measures changes in the price paid by consumers for a basket of goods and services. In the United States, the CPI increased to 323.98 points in August 2025, up from 323.05. So it's definitely up, which means you're paying more for your goods than you was in the middle of summer. It says this represents an annual inflation rate of 2.9%, the highest since January. Core inflation rate year over year was 3.1. So usually the inflation rate every year is 2%, which means that your purchasing power by average drops 2% each year. At this rate, it's going 3%. So it's the indicator of inflation, showing you the change in food prices and housing, clothing. It factors all of that in there and takes the average and lets you know what you're paying, how much more you're paying. So right now, electricity, gas, some reports say that there's a bill or that was shot down, some type of loan program that was shot down. So a lot of people in Huntsville, Alabama, had to pay $100 extra on their electricity bills because of this loan program that Trump shot down. So it's certain programs that was keeping your prices low, specifically electricity, and now that program is gone. We also, discussed early in the week that there's going to be a halt and a freeze on SNAP benefits on Medicare, more than likely this November, next month, the beginning. They also have new measures that if your child is over 14, you have to work at least 80 hours a week or do volunteer work. And if you're under 65. So there's a lot of changes coming. You got a push for a digital ID system. You got a push for credits, a social credit system, as they do in China. So everything else is really just bread and circuses, man. The news that's not touching on the fact that they're pushing for a digital infrastructure is bread and circuses. Anything that's not touching on the fact that you will own nothing and be happy is just bread and circuses, man. All right. So, yep, we had a above 2.2% inflation rate in the U.S., highest level since January 2025. Now, initially, I wanted to go into the current price of silver, which is $50.86. And I like to be reminded that personally, when I was I want to say like 15 or 12, the the first time I ever bought silver, and I paid, it says the price on there. I paid around, this is around 1995 ish, and I paid $22.50. So silver is now has doubled since the 90s, which is not extremely a lot, but it's still a lot. You know, it doubled, showing you that it's not the price of silver that's going up, it's really the purchasing power of the dollar that has dropped, right? So silver prices have been rallying with a 19.52% increase over the past month and a 62.16% increase compared to the same time last year. So what's going on is that there's spikes happening right now. There's a lot of spikes happening right now, and it's not because the new technology needs more silver. It's not because new electronics or medicine is created with using silver. It's because the price of the US dollar, or the purchasing power, is falling drastically now. If you type in gold line or lines to buy gold Singapore, lines to buy gold Australia, you'll see these long lines, man. People are set up and waiting outside of these coin distribution centers to buy these lines, buy these gold and silver. Silver reaches $50 an ounce for the first time in history. It's $50 an ounce. An ounce is not, that's the size of like a silver dollar, or a size of one of those old 50-cent John F. Kennedy silver coins. I think it's a silver dollar, or a half 50-cent coin they used to make. So silver prices surged nearly 15% in a month, up over 37% year on year. Okay, now near 2011 all-time high. Gold prices hit a record high. Goldman Sachs highest forecast for year end is $4,500. Gold, man. And to be honest with you, I can see gold getting as high as Bitcoin. I can see gold getting as high as Bitcoin, man. The rest of these banks price silver at around 37, 35, pretty much above 3,000. With this one bank, Goldman Sachs, saying that it should be around 4,500. Record highs in gold, man. So, yeah, it would be smart. It would behoove you to have a little bit of gold and a little bit of silver, And that's usually the biggest holder of value and store of value, those precious metals. Whereas houses is cool, but you never really own the house. You gotta pay taxes on your house every year. How are you taxed on land that you own? All right, that's a form of sharecropping. Shows back to what they did with slaves. As soon as they was freed, it was sharecropping. Just read a little bit about it. It says, is a farming system where farmers work on land owned by someone else, typically in exchange for a share of the crops produced. The landowner provides the land, housing, tools, and other necessities, while the sharecropper provides the labor. In return, the sharecropper usually receives a portion of the crop, often 1/2 to 2/3, which they can use to pay off debts to local merchants. So it was a way to keep these slaves after the Civil War in control, and also exploit the fact that they didn't own anything. And it says trapped farmers in cycles of debt and poverty. So you was free if you was a slave cropper. You never owned the land. It's just a new form of debt slavery. So these Edomites always played a game of how to own you straight out. And this is ultimately, why Yahweh Shah has to return to give us our freedom. Remember, what's his name? He didn't want to let us free. Egypt, Pharaoh of Egypt. He didn't want to give us freedom. Moses was sent to free us, whereas Pharaoh didn't want to. Let my people go, famous scripture. So plague after plague, Pharaoh still decided not to let us go. But this is against what the Lord has planned for us. The Lord has a plan of salvation, you see, and this is way long before the Esau came into power. So we have to understand, long before the blessing that Esau was given, that he would rule the world by the sword, there was already a plan in motion, right? Imagine that, a plan in motion prior to Esau getting his sword, which was that Israel would have an everlasting salvation. Romans 8:29 says, "For whom did he foreknow? He also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren." That foreknow, that foreknowledge. How did he foreknow us? And how did he predestinate us? If everything is just manifest destiny, whoever's will is stronger, whoever's smarter, what would be the purpose of predestinating us? 2 Timothy 1:9 says, "Who hath saved us and called us with a holy calling, not according to our works, but according to his own purpose and grace, which was given us in Yahushua before the world began." So this is troubling to the modern day titan of industry, the modern day manipulator of social stigmas, keeping a foot on Jake's neck, teaching us that we're, pushing this vibration that we just Black Americans or Africans or some type of heathen that came over here to America to work and be educated by the real civilized people. It's not true. All right, that's not true. And what we actually have is a much better, a lively hope than Esau could ever convince you of, because it's all lies. So ultimately, in order to really believe in what an Edomite's saying concerning your people, anything less than you are the 12 tribes of Israel and salvation is for you is a lie, and you have to actually believe in his lie, in his big lie. And he's not even spending money anymore to make you believe that. He's not even protecting that lie, because you got AI and you can just Google, do blacks have any African Americans have any connection to the 12 tribes of Israel, and you'll see it there. This is Acts 26:7, "Unto which promise all 12 tribes, instantly serving Yahweh day and night, hope to come." Hope to come. The 12 tribes have a hope to come. Well, who's coming? That's the question you was asked. Let's see how it's shot. The world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. He's coming. And that's what the Israelites have always hoped for. That's why I said the 12 tribes. You see? This is quickly Mark 15:43. Joseph of Arimathea. He's the one that buried Yahushua, or had a tomb for him. It says, "An honorable counselor, which also waited for the kingdom of Yahweh." So that's what the hope to come is. That's what the hope to come. Why are all of these men, women of antiquity hoping for and desiring for Yahushua to return? Because that's when the promises will be fulfilled. There was promises made to our people, man. The only way in which we would get this promise fulfilled is when the Son returned. 1 Corinthians 3:11, "For other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is Yahushua." So it's not about how much bread you could stack up. It never was about that. It's not about your circumstances currently, man. Lord, scriptures tell you that you should know how to be abased and know how to be abound, meaning know how to be at your lowest low all the way up into your highest high, meaning at a state of being cursed. And our people is in a state of being cursed, with subject to payments, with under another man's rulership and kingdom and dominion. I mean, how good do you expect to have it here? Just be thankful that you got the heads up and the drop on who you are, even when you're in the state of captivity. All right? You have the knowledge. What more do you need? You have the knowledge of Yahushua. That's beautiful, man. That's all you ever needed. This is John 9:25. He answered and said, whether he be a sinner or no, I know not. One thing I know, that whereas I was blind, now I see. That's all that matters. Think about it. That's all that matters. People going around here fighting. They're fighting over wealth. They're fighting over resources that they feel like there's a lack of. The only reason you feel like there's a lack of resources is because the Edomites, who's the ruling class elite, are hoarding all the resources. That's the only reason. They're hoarding resources, man. When you find out about the diamond industry, you find out that, well, all the diamonds, first of all, they're coming from Africa mainly, right? They're sourced from Africa, the natural ones. You can create diamonds, but the natural ones are sourced from the earth, right? The Congos, all the way in the west coast of Africa. And they take these young children, enslave them and work them to death in these mines to mine these diamonds. That's why they call them blood diamonds. And then they take all these diamonds that they find and they shelf like 90% of them. So the only ones that actually reach the people is what's left, 10%. So what you feel is scarce is just manufactured scarcity. It's not that scarce. If they was to unload on all the diamonds that they have stored up, diamonds, then the diamond might drop to $25, man. You kidding me? How much do you think a natural I don't know, how much is a moissanite stone, Now diamonds have beautiful properties and certain properties, but ain't no way a diamond should cost more than gold. What makes a diamond more precious than the ruby? Diamonds is known to be the hardest surface and a few other properties, but that's about it. They have a brightness and a brilliance in their shine, but so do rubies and other gemstones. How come they aren't overpriced? Because their price hasn't been manipulated, man. When there's a shortage, it's simple economics. Scarcity leads to a price jump. I forget how they word this in economic terms, but shortages leads to higher prices. And if you can manufacture a shortage, you have the right to sell at any price you want. So you could either do two things: find an industry where there's already a shortage, or create one. And that's what you have with gas. That's what you have with anything, man. Anything can be manufactured, because Esau is a liar, the father of liars. He was the most hateful for the sake of Yahweh. So whereas the scripture says a just man an unjust scale is an abomination. Esau could play and manipulate with money. He does that every day. There's fraud going on in the United States daily. All right, quantitative easing, the Fed. That's why silver is jumping right now. It's too much fraud behind this dollar. That's why gold is jumping. The people are, it's not just Americans, but worldwide. What happens when certain news gets to India about American fraud and manipulation of the stock market, of American dollar? What happens when that news reaches Africa? What happens when that news reaches China? And as it is, people get scared to buy and sell in the US dollar. They want out, and they're headed to crypto, and they're headed to other things that exist. Basically, people are starting to wake up. You see, now, book of James, grab James 5. It says, go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. So the end of their riches is coming. And one thing about riches is translated. It's translated. That's how Yahweh Shemiah Shah set it up. Translated from one kingdom to another. You get that? This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, Sirach, the Apocrypha, 10, verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings. What's an unrighteous dealing? Somebody lies, cheats, steals, kills, murders in order to have what's yours. That's an unrighteous dealing, right? Whose land was this first? Yet they say Columbus discovered it. That's an unrighteous dealing. All right. It says injuries and riches got by deceit. So we have unrighteous dealings. You can check that box. Injuries, you can check that box. Riches got by deceit. All three of those, you could check those boxes off for how America became. It says the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So that's the only determining factor of why a society would have to be transferred, or the riches that society got would have to be transferred over, or the dominion of the entire earth would have to be transferred from one people to another because of the lie the riches got by deceit and how they gained it, bringing about injuries. And injury, or an injurious way of obtaining something, would be to damage somebody for it, would be to offend or wound somebody, to bruise somebody, to murder somebody for it. Question is, was blood shed on this land in order to obtain it at any point? Was blood innocent blood shed? Blood of those who you can't prove that they deserved to die, other than they were just standing there when you launched your bullet and shot your Gatling gun at them, or this land was theirs, and then left the names of all of these places, man. All these southern states, all the way up north, man. There's names, there's rivers, there's names of towns. There's even on the I forget whose, it was either New Hampshire's flag, state flag, or check them New England state flags. All them New England states, Maine, they had a flag or a town flag where it was a white man like stepping on a Gadite, a so-called Native American. He's just stepping on him. And that was a town's flag or the state's flag. And these people fought to keep the flag. They boast of their unrighteous dealings. They boast of their injuries. It's not a thing that they like to hide at all. But we are in the state and time that retribution is on the schedule. So James 5:1, go to now, you rich men, weep and howl, for your miseries shall come upon you. And what's the weeping and howling about? Is that you have to give it up, and you'll give it up the same way that you gave it up. Meaning, the ends justify the means, or rather, you reap what you sow. So you got this land by blood, and by your blood shall you give it up. And this saying is correct that they've always said, from my cold dead hands. When it comes to the Second Amendment, that was a statement that their chairman, I believe back in the 90s, Charleston Heston or somebody, he said the only way you're going to take their guns is from their cold dead hands. That's what they teach themselves, especially in these southern good old boy states. And that's exactly how it's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of unalivings and war and insurrections and fighting going on in this country, especially because when they try to introduce this mark and this digital ID system, and the people not going to go for it, they're going to come in forcefully to detain or set their agenda, and they're going to have to get bloody with a lot of these Americans who propagate their Second Amendment right to bear arms. It's going to get really bloody on this land. The miseries coming to the rich men because everything they've done has been to cunningly take what other people have. Right in the book of Habakkuk, it tells you that this it was, let me just get it. Habakkuk tells you directly about these people, man, who run this country, who run this world, how they're evil. Habakkuk 2:5, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. So the pride is his marker. That's an arrogance about him. It says, neither keepeth at home. Somebody that doesn't keep at home, and he's known in the scriptures as a cunning hunter. So he's hunting. He's always on trying to defeat or conquer somebody, and they have a divide and conquer policy. So they like to meddle in other men's affairs, other countries. Look at all the coup d'etats America has put their hands into. Look at where America is staging the next war in the South America. You can't pretend to make them look like a threat to America. You know, every person you ever seen come over from that country is generally just trying to go to work and come home and send money back to their country. That's basically how the immigrants do it. But you're designing them to become a threat now. And that's the propaganda war that America constantly pushes on its people. And they don't even need to do that anymore because, you know, they got you guys fighting the red versus the blue, the left versus the right. They got Americans fighting so juiced up on either drugs or television and entertainment and bread and circuses that you don't even know what's going on. Meanwhile, they get to drop bombs in any country they want to, start wars. What do you think engaging in all these wars are going to do? There's more bloodshed being shed. Ultimately, this place is designed to fall by a thermonuclear war. The stage is being set for World War III. And these nations are taking notice at what America does when it wants what you have, it wages war on you. So now it's waking up the spirit of defense for these nations now to arm themselves with the proper amount of armament, right? The new battle is a nuclear battle, a hypersonic battle, all right? A submariner or a submarine battle, a battle of weapons, a battle of AI weapon systems, a battle of cyber weapons, right? Can you shut down a power grid through a computer? Can you hack into a country's water system? Can you just shut down their traffic signals, right? Can you cause a bank information data breach? So there's variations of battlefields in this new era we're in, and nations are arming themselves because they see how Esau Edom is. He's a proud man, neither keepeth at home, so he wants what's not his. It says, who enlargeth his desire as hell. So now he's desiring other people's property, OPP. He's desiring your mind, right? He wants to put chips in your brain, all right? Supposedly this year, over 6,000, I think the number is 6 to 12,000 have signed up to get brain chips because so they could play a computer game on their brain, or maybe they could send a text message for these frivolous access. They'll give away their livelihood. They'll allow another man to play something in the most sacred part of your body, your brain, which if that doesn't work, you shut down and turn into a vegetable. But this is all a part of his system. If he can't take you down by force, which it's very costly, and there's a lot of human capital. There's a lot of money to be put in that. It gets messy. It looks bad. You start to creep into another country, another kingdom, and attack it. Or you get caught with your hands dirty. So now they try to say, well, how about we just give you technology? We'll share with you our ideas. We'll include you into this grid. We'll show you how to we'll allow you to be a king forever over your people. Let me show you nations how to rule over your people. Ultimately, when they do that, they already do the job in the bidding of the New World Order elites, which is to mark everybody anyway. So they're going to have their own kings do the bidding for them. Let me show you how to put your people into slavery through this mark. And this mark just goes back to our technology. So we really own your people now. It's a new stage is set for a new global takeover. All right. It says, who enlargeth his desire as hell. Wanting to create a system of slavery is enlarging your desire as hell. That's what the New World Order is all about. as is death, and as is death, it cannot be satisfied. So everything he enlarged his territory, when you're in the confines of it, you're included in a death camp now. He is turning the world into his personal death camp. You don't want to take my mark? Well, you can't eat no more. And you can't work here anymore either. Think about it. The most probably sacred thing, amongst other than your family, other than worshiping Heavenly Father and His Son, they're taking away your right to work if you don't submit to His digital system. That's the mark of the beast in the scriptures, man. Plainly and clearly, that's the mark of the beast system being implemented. The actual mark, which is a cut in the word charagma, charax, root word grapho in the Greek, all is about a cutting, putting something inside your flesh subdermally, whereas on it is written information, and it operates in a system, a broader system that works with a dollar, works with a currency, and works with trade, and works with commerce. It's a fintech, financial technological system of the beast that incorporates your finances and incorporates technology, but it places it inside you. And the card reader, or the antenna, can read you now, because subdermally placed inside your skin is a microchip that speaks and talks and carries information in response to these sensors and these scanners. And you can be scanned and buy and sell just like a card. You are the card. The technology is now subdermal. It's not on your person. It's not in your wallet. It's not around your neck. It's in your forehead and in your hand. That's why it says He calls of all. So that's the game plan. That's the elite's agenda. That's their perfect agenda, how they will enlarge their desire as hell and how they can't keep it home. They want the world, right? He calls it all. And that cause is a mandate. You can't get around that. That legislation of the world has to be unanimously pushing for a digital ID microchip. And it doesn't matter what conclusion you draw of why it's coming out. The fact of the matter is, it's coming out, and they probably did enough Google research to find out what's the best way to push this to you and your people. Whereas maybe you'll take it if it's safe for your children to walk the streets at night. You'll take it if you'll never get another dollar stolen or taken from you. You'll take it maybe if it means keeping your job and keeping your livelihood. You'll take it maybe if it means coming with welfare or SNAP benefits. All it takes is doing a little bit of research to figure out why you would take it. And what do they have? Your chat history, your search history, your browser history, your pictures, your photographs, the people in your closest circle, all right, all the way to your extended circles. They have your work history. They have the things that you love. They have your sleep patterns. Everything trackable. They have your medical information. They know what's sensitive information. They know what kind of personality type you are. They have everything they need to know about you, because you have their apps and you gave them the rights when you applied for these applications that you use, these apps on your phone. This is a part of their service and terms agreements that they can share this information. Third parties, and so one of the third parties is the United States government. They just found out the Meta and all of them was behind the app that was tracking a woman's menstrual cycle. Women were using this app to track their menstrual cycle for various reasons, whatever. And that third party, that site was transferring that information to third party. Google was having women's menstrual cycles. Meta was having women's menstrual cycles. All these apps that had nothing to do with the people you clicked on. You might ask, well, who cares? But with this data, This data, what do you think? What do you think happens? Slacking. What is the possibilities of of somebody? Basically, this man doesn't. He's enlarging his desire as hell. He might know when the exact time to promote um, a message to your woman that can get through to her. Think about it. That's the weaker best. Knowing your woman's and then tracking her menstrual with all of the information that she puts on the Facebook, and she's more active around the around her heaviest blood flow time. You know what I mean? This is all the seeds that is needed for these people to just make the move on pushing this mark. The point is that data can get breached. Everything about you is known, and we are in these end times, and the Lord has set these times up just to indicate that his son is going to return, and he's going to keep those who don't take it. He's going to keep you from that hour of temptation. He's going to protect you. He's going to preserve us from taking that mark, knowing that we'll be ostracized or alienated from buying and selling at that time. He'll have to feed us. Miracles will have to happen. You must be ready and prepared to believe in these miracles so that he can sustain us in these dark times. I brought this out. This video was edifying. And until next time, shalom.